So my name is Lior Pastor. I work for Mellanox. So thanks everyone for coming in. I'm going to be very brief. I have only 2 slides. I'm just going to introduce Mellanox very briefly and talk about some trends that we see in the industry, mostly around hardware. And then I will move the microphone to Tomer from DataArcs, who's going to talk about some cool things that they're doing with optimization and performance over packet servers and Mellanox adapters. So Mellanox designs and manufactures end-to-end network equipment, meaning network adapters, cables, switches. We've been around for about 16, 17 years. We started from the InfiniBand-based products, and a couple of years ago, we actually started also making Ethernet products. And today, I would say our products are about half Ethernet and half InfiniBand, and both are growing very well. This year, we're probably going to be around $800 million sales. Can't really talk about numbers. You can see it online. We traded on the NASDAQ, so whatever is there is there. But overall, doing very well, growing very nicely. And the company is growing. We have close to 3,000 employees at this point. Most of them, I would say 2/3 are engineers, software developers, hardware engineers that develop our products. Just to give you a kind of an understanding of where we are as far as, where we are in the market and what we're doing, today, just looking at 25 gig network adapters, Ethernet network adapters, we ship over 100,000 adapters every quarter. And these adapters go to a lot of the cloud and web companies that you all know, social networking, and that type of companies. Also go to a couple of companies here in New York City, whether it's big banks, investment banks, hedge funds that use our adapters for things like research clusters to crunch historical data and decide whether to put an order in or not. So these are where our products go to. A lot of network adapters, a lot of cables, and also a lot of network switches that we're pushing to the market, and I'll talk about that in a second. Here in New York City, we have a small office to support our customers in New York, FSI customers, media entertainment, and companies like Packet. So I wanted to speak a couple of minutes about some trends that we see in the market, mostly around hardware. And this really repeats some of the trends that our friend from Cavium has talked about on the hardware. So it's definitely very interesting. It just makes this a lot more real. So first of all, network adapters are getting faster. So everybody knows network adapters are either 10 gig or 1 gig Ethernet. Actually, today, those network adapters are moving to 25 gigabit Ethernet, 50 gigabit Ethernet, and 100 gigabit Ethernet. So definitely moving a lot more data. And the reasons are multiple reasons, but there's a lot more what we call east-west traffic. There's a lot more data to crunch. So obviously, the network adapters need to be faster. The network adapter is also getting smarter. What I mean by that is that you can actually do more things on the adapter without going to the processor, what we call offloading. And you can see that, for example, when you look at cloud, there's a lot of things that you don't want the processor to be busy. You want to do it on the adapter when the data comes in. You may want to do some operation on it and shoot the data out, or you want to drop some packets, or you want to do all kinds of things. So the adapters need to do all these things. And actually, at this point, it's actually going to the next level where you actually see the compute capacity moving to the network adapters. So whether it's FPGAs with the network adapters or custom processors or ARM processors moving onto the network adapters and creating, if you will, systems on chip on the adapter itself, and embedded e-switch on the adapter, and cryptography on the adapter. All these things are basically taking the load off the CPUs. If it's Intel CPUs, they're expensive. You want to use them specifically for the reason that you paid a lot of money for, meaning compute. You don't want to do the stuff that the network could potentially do. So we want the network adapters to do these things, and that's why they're getting smarter. We see a trend where the perimeter used to be where you do security, right? You do the security at the firewall where the data enter the data center. Actually, so what's happening now is that we see that firewall actually moving inwards, and we see multiple layers of security happening in the data center, and the last layer is the network adapter. And in the network adapter, either you do some security in the hardware, or you have some rules. You can send some data to the VMs. You can send data between VMs from the adapter without going to the network. There's a lot of cool things that you can do today because the adapter has all these capabilities around security and switching in the adapter itself. As we already heard, there's a lot of work done bringing cryptography and the ability to do IPsec, SSL, things like that on the servers. And you don't want to do it in software, because if you do it in software, you have a huge bottleneck. From a 10 gig network adapter, maybe you can get 1 or 2 gig of traffic with IPsec, because the bottleneck is the processor, the CPU. So you want to do that offload. You want to do this cryptography on the adapter themselves. And get line rate, and this is what you see, whether it's from Cavium or Mellanox or someone else, 10 gig line rate, 40 gig line rate. This is the trend today, and eventually, and we already see that customers come to us and say, we want to do IPsec between all our servers. We want everything to be secure. But today it's not really possible and affordable, but it's really coming, and it's getting cheaper and more efficient every day. Talked about the processing going to the network. And the other thing I wanted to mention is a very, very big trend that some of you may also be aware of. 10, 15 years ago, you would basically buy a switch, whether it's Cisco or Juniper or someone else, and you basically get locked into that vendor. That vendor gives you a box which runs, has their hardware, it runs their software, and basically everything is tied together, and you can't really move easily from that model. You have to keep buying that product, or you have to do rip and replace. And today what's happening, and this is really big trend, it's being pushed by cloud users or cloud providers and web providers, is the separation of the hardware layer, the switch hardware layer, from the operating system that runs on the switch, whether it's, it used to be Cisco operating system or someone else's operating system. So we see this trend where you can buy what we call bare metal switch from multiple vendors. Mellanox is one of them, but there's a bunch of vendors that you can buy those switches from. And then you can basically pick and choose the operating system that runs on that switch that really fits your needs and has the features that you want. So it could be Cumulus Linux, it could be open source switch dev, it could be Mellanox OS, it could be Facebook FBOSS OS, it could be Microsoft Sonic. You really mix and match, and this gives you really cool advantage as far as obviously lowering your cost, getting the features that you want, paying for what you need and not paying for what you don't need. So this is a very big trend, and I think that this is going to be the biggest thing in networking. In the next 3 to 5 years, there's going to be huge change. And after that, we'll also see a big change even on the routing level and putting very, very intelligent devices into the top of rack. So the bottom line is that hardware still matters a lot. All these things are really enabled by moving a lot of compute and a lot of smarts into the hardware, whether it's custom processors, whether it's ARM processors, whether it's the network adapters. It's all really done in hardware with support from software. So hardware really matters a lot. And when you come to hardware that has so many capabilities, you really want to try to take as much as possible and squeeze every bit of performance out of that hardware, out of those capabilities. And this is where DataArc comes into play, with performance optimization and looking at different things that you can do on the hardware to squeeze every bit of performance. And all these trends are really driven by companies like Packet, who provide, best-of-breed hardware with a lot of choice for the user to really pick the best stuff that works for them and run the best workloads on the best hardware. So I'll let Tomer take the microphone. Any questions for me about Mellanox, the things we do? I'm happy to answer afterwards if you have anything. Thank you very much.